This unexpected invitation will transform your reality forever. You don't know it yet, but the universe just slid an invite across your table, and most people push it aside like a napkin. They see the edge, glance away, and keep doing what feels comfortable. Don't be most people. Right now there is a symbolic junction, structure meeting sparks, discipline meeting desire. Something that often feels like pressure is actually an opening. Call it Saturn in Aries if that language resonates. Call it a sudden knock from life. Call it whatever helps you accept the offer. The important part is this: the cosmos isn't forcing you. This is not fate. This is not a guarantee of instant results. What it is, often, is a clear signal that waiting has a cost, and showing up differently will change how the next months look. Imagine a door that has been cracked open for a long time. You have been peeking through that crack for years, hoping for permission, wondering if it's safe, watching opportunities circle without stepping into them. This invitation pulls the door wider. It asks for a decision. It doesn't scream. It simply demands that you notice. Decision, any honest decision, removes energy from the waiting and puts it into creating. Saturn, in myth and symbol, is the craftsman of consequence. It's the slow, heavy hand that builds frames and enforces limits. Aries is fire, impulse, the part of you that claims identity through action. Put them together and you get body-meeting blueprint. The urge to start coupled with the lesson that starting well requires structure. That mix can feel raw. It can feel like pressure. It can also be the exact leverage you need to reframe how you live. Let me be clear. When I say Saturn in Aries can feel like something, I mean it psychologically and metaphorically. This transit often prompts shifts in how you take responsibility for your life. It tends to reveal where you've been drifting on hope alone, where you've let momentum be the enemy of intention. It does not force outcomes. It offers conditions in which disciplined action becomes a more useful currency than wishful thinking. So what changes in you when this energy sits in your life? First, indecision becomes costly. You may notice fatigue around choices that used to feel small, a soft exhaustion from circling instead of committing. Second, anger may show up more easily, but anger here is not a breakdown, it's a signal. It highlights boundaries you've been ignoring. It points to places where your identity has been compromised in favor of convenience. Third, your body starts to insist on being part of the conversation. Posture, movement, breath, they become tools rather than afterthoughts. Anger especially needs a new translation. Most of us learn to fear our anger because of what it can do when unchecked. But in this season, anger functions like a compass. It says, there is a line here. This person stepped on it. This job stretches you past the edge. This habit is stealing your time. Instead of using anger as permission to explode, you can use it as information to act with precision. The heat can teach you where to draw a boundary. The flame does not have to burn the house down. It can weld a new rail. This is a moment for refusal, to refuse to shrink. Visibility is not vanity in this context. It is alignment. When you step forward into a clearer version of yourself, you become legible to your life. People and circumstances begin to respond differently. That does not equal instant reward. It equals coherence. Coherence compounds. A small, consistent act builds a structure that will hold bigger moves later. Movement is the language of truth in this season. When you walk, your brain clarifies. When you stand taller, your nervous system recalibrates toward possibility. These are not mystical claims, they're embodied facts. Your body remembers what courage feels like. It only needs small reminders to start carrying the rest of you. Here are two simple practices that align with this invitation. They are not dramatic. They are steady. First, the 10-minute clarity walk. Not a hike, not an errand. Just 10 uninterrupted minutes of walking with intention. No phone scrolling. Walk at a deliberate pace. Let the muscles move the mind. Notice what comes up, ideas, edges, the one thing you keep avoiding. At the end of 10 minutes, name one concrete next step and say it out loud. That step does not have to be big. It has to be honest. Second, the posture reset. 3 times a day, stand against a wall for 60 seconds, feet hip-width apart, spine long, shoulders back. Breathe in like you're gathering dignity. Breathe out like you're releasing doubt. This tiny ritual trains your body to carry a different version of you, one that's less willing to apologize for presence. When your posture changes, you notice how you're treated. The world responds to the person you inhabit. These 2 somatic cues, walking and posture, are the practical scaffolding that makes Saturn's lesson tangible. They translate an archetypal invitation into daily reality. They anchor identity in your skeleton and your gait, so your mind has less work to do, convincing your life that this is for real. Or, now a short pivot. A viewer once commented, "I feel like everything's sped up. Suddenly I'm angrier, but I just freeze. I want to change, but I don't know where to start." That line could be any one of us. It's a familiar ache. The acceleration is uncomfortable, yes, but discomfort is not proof you are failing. It is evidence that something needs a new route. Instead of telling this commenter, or you, to explode or to hide, the invitation asks, what's one honest first step you can take that respects both your urgency and your limits? This is the moment for a different kind of discipline. Devotion. Discipline often gets framed as deprivation. In this version, discipline is devotion because it's directed at what matters most to you. It's saying yes to the interior life that matches your exterior choices. Start small, sacred small. A 5-minute morning routine is a devotion. A weekly boundary conversation is a devotion. Repetition builds identity. Identity then shapes behavior, and behavior sculpts circumstances. Let's talk about boundaries because they will come up loudly during this time. Boundaries are not walls built in rage. They are clear signs on your property that indicate what you will and will not accept. When you set a boundary, you practice saying no in a way that protects your capacity to say yes to the right things. If anger surfaces, use it as the alarm. Then step back and name what needs to change. A simple line to say might be this: I can't take this right now. I need space to handle it and will return when I can. It's not a script for punishment. It's a protocol for self-respect. You may be tempted to act like Aries without the Saturn, fast, impulsive, dramatic starts. That's not the point. Acting without structure often results in burnouts, unfinished projects, and more friction. On the other hand, structure without action becomes stagnation, rules that collect dust. The invitation is the marriage, a quick foot to begin, a slow hand to steady. What happens if you ignore this invitation? Consequences are less dramatic than we fear, but they are persistent. Ignoring the nudge does not trigger cosmic wrath. It does produce friction, a low-grade dissatisfaction that eats at energy. Your life begins to feel heavier. Opportunities that might have been ordinary doors become closed windows because you were still peeking instead of entering. The deeper cost is time. Waiting costs seasons you cannot get back. At the same time, responding doesn't mean instant victory. There will be awkward first steps. There will be failures. There will be humiliation and revision. That is exactly how mastery is made. Think of a blacksmith shaping steel. The first strike is noisy and imperfect. Repetition, heat, and intentional pressure create a blade. Discipline in this case is the repeated strike. Devotion is caring how the sword is made. Patience is the time at the anvil. So what is one honest step you can take right now, literally in the next 10 minutes, that aligns with this invitation? The answer must be somatic, simple, and definable. Here's a concrete option. Stand up, put your phone away, take that 10-minute clarity walk I described, and at the end of it, write one sentence that begins with, "From now on, I will." Make it specific. From now on, I will finish one chapter of my project by the end of the month. From now on, I will stop answering emails after 7 p.m. Keep it true to what you actually can do. If this hits you, type yes in the comments, or drop the one area you will commit to today. That's it. Low friction. High accountability. After you take that first honest step, here's how momentum tends to work. Small acts create a feedback loop. You do something bodily. Your mind notices and rewards you with clarity. That clarity helps you pick the next step. Over time, the pattern rewires the system that used to default to avoidance. That's why discipline feels like devotion. Once the pattern is established, consistency becomes easier than perfection. Let's walk through a practical sequence you can use over the next 30 days that respects both Aries' need for action and Saturn's demand for structure. Day 1. The 10-minute clarity walk and 1-sentence commitment. Day 2. Repeat the walk. Add a 5-minute morning ritual, 1 breathwork cycle, 1 posture reset, and 1 micro-task toward your commitment. Day 3. Choose 1 conversation that honors a boundary and schedule it. Day 4. Check the calendar and protect 2 blocks of time for the week where you will act on the commitment without distraction. Days 5 through 30. Repeat the walk at least every other day. Perform the posture reset 3 times daily. And report progress to someone who knows you. Keep your expectations realistic. Celebrate small wins. Track them. The point is to build a cadence, not to sprint and collapse. As you engage, pay attention to how your anger shifts. At first, it may flare more as you stop numbing and start naming. That's normal. Naming is the antidote to being overwhelmed. When anger surfaces, ask, what boundary does this point to? Name it. Then choose the smallest next step to secure it. Maybe that means not taking calls during lunch. Maybe it means turning down a request that drains you. Maybe it means telling someone, I need to slow this down. You do not need to fix everything at once. You need to be clear enough to choose. There will be friction from others, too. People who are used to you being a certain way may resist because your new boundaries ask them to recalibrate. That is part of the process. Notice how your own respect for yourself changes the way you accept or reject those resistances. Being visible doesn't require confrontation. It requires a steadier center. Let me speak to the perfectionist inside you. There will be days you backslide. There will be days the walk feels meaningless. Those days are not erasures of progress. They are data. They show you what adjustments the plan needs. If you miss 3 days, don't punish yourself. Review the conditions and reduce friction. Maybe your clarity walk needs to be in the morning instead of lunch. Maybe your posture reset needs a visible trigger like a water glass on your desk. Adapt the system to your life. Saturn teaches refinement more than rigidity. Here is one experiment you can try this week that brings together identity, body, and accountability. Choose 1 phrase that captures your intent, 2 to 5 words. Examples: build toward launch, protect creative time, finish chapter 3, boundaries are sacred. Write it on a sticky note. Put that note at eye level wherever you stand to eat. Every time you look at it, stand for 60 seconds in your posture reset. Then once a day, walk for 10 minutes with that phrase in mind. At the end of the week, journal 3 observations about what changed. This links language, body, and temporal repetition in a way that tells your nervous system who you are becoming. Remember, visibility is not arrogance, it's alignment. When you begin to act in small but consistent ways, the world begins to accept that you are serious. Doors begin to respond, not because of magic, but because your actions change how others can enter into relationship with you. You become reliable, you become accountable, you stop being a possibility and become a presence. Do not mistake speed for skill. Aries invites action. Saturn asks for repayment in the form of follow-through. The healthiest expression of this transit is paced courage. Move when you must, steady when you do. Quick starts followed by consistent returns beat dramatic bursts that fizzle. That is the pattern that builds reputation, resources, and resilience. Let me put a human face on this. Imagine someone named Maya. She had been telling herself for years that someday she would write. When this invitation came, the initial impulse was to launch a massive plan. Quit the job, buy equipment, set up a studio. She almost did that. Instead, she took a different approach, a 10-minute walk every morning to think about her story, a 5-minute draft ritual after lunch, one 30-minute focused writing block on Saturdays. She started small and kept going. 3 months later, she had a finished short piece, clarity about her main project, and the confidence to pitch. The work wasn't instantaneous. It was visible because it was consistent. That consistency is what Saturn admires. That steadiness is what Aries needs to feel called. It's easy to romanticize the big leap. It's also dangerous. Big leaps without structure are often the same as running in circles with more exertion. Structure without action is like an unused gym membership. The invitation asks for both, a step forward that is born out of a plan you can actually repeat. If you're listening and thinking, I don't have the time, then pay attention. Time is not given as a seasonal gift. Time is claimed through boundaries and trade-offs. If you want a different next season, you have to trade something now. That trade will feel risky. Risk is part of the invitation. The trick is to make risk manageable. Choose small sacrifices that preserve your dignity and attention. Trade 1 hour of passive scrolling for a 10-minute walk and a 5-minute journaling session. That's the size of the currency this transit respects. As you practice, cultivate patience with speed. Expect progress that compounds. Imagine the first step as laying a brick. A year of consistent bricks becomes a wall. 2 years, an arch. 5 years, a home. There is a rhythm to building. Saturn's lesson is long-term craft. Aries' gift is the courage to start. Use both. Now here is your closing prompt, your next honest step that I want you to make right now. Pick one specific bodily action you will do today that signals this shift. Say it in the present tense. Speak it aloud. For example, today I will take a 10-minute clarity walk at 4 p.m. and write one sentence that begins, from now on I will... Then do it. That's the scale. One honest step, repeated. You are not too late. You are not being punished for waiting. You are being offered a chance to stop circling and start committing. The invitation is unexpected because it asks less of your imagination and more of your willingness to show up. It will not transform you overnight. It will transform your reality over time because small, deliberate acts accumulate into a life that finally matches your intent. Choose your one honest step now. Share it if you want to be held to it. If this helped, consider subscribing or following for more guidance. And whether or not you share, remember this. The invitation is real because you are real. When you accept it, slowly, stubbornly, in pieces, your reality begins to match the shape of who you've been waiting to become.